Thank you for joining Jennifer Schaus and Associates in our 2019 Webinar Wednesday series. We're coming to you live from downtown Washington, D.C. Our webinars are every Wednesday, and you can find the upcoming schedule on our website. Past webinars and all recordings are also on our website and on our YouTube channel, along with over 160 other recordings on federal contracting topics. All are complimentary. If you have questions for our speaker today, you can email them directly with the contact information you'll see on the last slide. This is just a little bit about us. We are a Washington, D.C. based firm and provide services for federal contractors. This ranges from market analysis support to proposal writing and also post-award compliance. More information is on our website, so please visit us there. We do offer advertising, so you can email me if you would like more information on that. And we're going to go ahead and get speaker today. We are going to go ahead and get started today. Our speakers are Amber Hart and Lisa Shea Munt. They're going to be covering 5 ways to leverage non-BD personnel and resources in your sales approach. Thank you guys for joining us, and I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having us. Hi, everybody. We hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. That is the day we're in, right? It's been such a week and such an end to the quarter here. We are Amber and Lisa. We are the Pulse of GovCon. The Pulse of GovCon is a boutique market intelligence firm, and we focus specifically on identifying opportunities for government contractors and just helping out any way that we can. We love to offer advice. We love to talk through this wonderful industry that we're all a part of. So thank you for joining us today. As mentioned, the topic for right now's discussion is going to be 5 ways to leverage non-BD personnel and resources in your sales approach. We get this question all the time. Contractors want to know how to leverage their non-BD people to sell. We want to talk about how to be cross-functional, how to have these teams, because we know, especially if you're at a small business, you're wearing multiple hats. You're having people in more than one role. You know, it's not like these large integrators where you have really dedicated swim lanes and ideas of what they should be doing. We're all helping, and really every person is a salesperson. Next slide. So here are the 5 points that we are going to make today. We're going to talk about how to use your on-site program, project, and general workforce personnel. We're going to talk a little bit about CPARS, Peepers, and PPEs. We're going to talk about the importance of your SAM.gov profile and some of the trials and tribulations that we go through with this function. We're going to talk through job postings and how that can help you with your sales goals. And then finally, we're going to walk through GSA Interact and small business repositories. So next slide. Let's get started. On-site program, project, and general workforce personnel. Amber and I like to refer to this as your eyes and ears while on the contract. And often this is what people come to us saying the most. How do we get our contract folks to help us sell? And it's a delicate balance of what you should ask of your contract folks and what is completely outside of the realm of what their job is. It is okay to ask them to be your eyes and ears. We know that contract and relationships management is the primary business development tool that we all have. These are people putting together these opportunities. It's the people that have the needs, the wants, the biases. So understanding that is the first step in using your non-BD people to sell. They have to build the relationships with the people on the contract. You can ask your workforce to be observant in their surroundings to get a sense of the acquisition planning. Now, the word respectfully is in there on purpose. You don't want them to become a nuisance. You don't want them to be knocking on CO doors, especially if they don't have that type of relationship with them, trying to garner information for your business. But you do want to empower them to listen and look for customer pain points. We always talk about that when it comes to proposals, right? What is the target customer's needs, wants, and biases? There is pretty much no better way to figure those out than with people on the current contract or people that are in with your customers. So have them ask the good questions and listen. You know, the biggest piece of advice when it comes to selling to the government is that you should always listen more than you talk. And make sure that they just have a high curiosity quotient. Your workforce should be taught through your BD folks what to look for, what kind of questions to ask, and really what's going to be the most beneficial to you, the BD person. You want to inspire them to find potential opportunities and give them a criteria to follow and a process to report up. So this is not only, have them be the eyes and ears while they're on the contract. This can be in their downtime too. So we've seen a lot of folks that'll have their contract people when they're not billing look on FBO, for opportunities, but oftentimes they're not given the proper guidance that's going to help them find opportunities that make sense for your company, that are in your company's wheelhouse, that aren't bluebirds. So train them up, let them know what kind of opportunities you're looking for, let them know if there's a target customer that you're trying to get into, let them know if there's different service offerings they want you as a company want to parlay your past experience into, and then give them a format to be able to pull down the key information from these opportunities in a form, a report, and give them a process, a standard operating process by which to report these. Amber, anything to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Amber Hart, and I'm the other part of the Pulse. And a few other things to kind of add on to this slide and this kind of observation is just more kind of keys of things to look at or look around for and things that you wouldn't think of. When we say respectfully be observant, it's not only being observant of the contracting officers or the people that they're interacting with, it's also the workforce around them, your competitors. Look at lanyards, look at business cards, ask them to look at paraphernalia that's around desks and things like that, that's looking for an identification of the company that they're with. So you can kind of know who you're with in that space. Another key point is for them, while they're listening out for pain points, is to listen out for pain points that they could write white papers to. You can write unsolicited white papers all day and submit those. And as some of them may not turn into opportunities, you're cataloging the issues, the problems that are being identified, and you're at least coming up with solutions. And then you kind of have that handoff over to your BD folks or to the owner, right, who then submits that to the person that they have a relationship with in that office. So, but you want to encourage them to keep finding solutions to the problems that they see, even if it's as little as this tool isn't working anymore, or we could probably automate this file process, or we could automate, this process of figuring out seating charts or things like that if they're an administrative front office position, or if they're in a program position saying, hey, we've identified some of these duplicative things. We can probably accomplish it with this. Encourage your people to write white papers when they identify those issues.
Awesome. Next slide. Amber, why don't you tell these folks a little bit about this? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, so we're going to talk a little bit about DFARS, Peepers, and PPEs. And if you're not aware of what these are, you should be. And if you are aware, I'm sure you're rolling your eyes at us right now saying, yes, Amber, we understand. So Peepers and DFARS are really important, and they're one and the same, so I don't want that to get confused. The government still interchangeably uses both names. That's why we wanted to use both. But when you have past performance, not typically, but I would say about 45% of the time, the government will provide an evaluation of you every option year after your base year of your performance. And what people tend to forget is that, one, you can review that performance. You can also, I wouldn't say object, but you can provide commentary back to the government saying, hey, I think, this should be caveated with this. If they gave you maybe a satisfactory score, or if they gave you a score that you thought, there was reasons why you were given that, but you think that there should be some more context, you are able to provide that. And the government kind of reviews them, but you are allowed to continue down that process to give them more context when you go to bid on other things. It's important for the awardees, the contracting offices, to have that context behind your past performance. So I encourage you and we implore you to always make sure that you provide context to those types of awards or those types of past performances that you were given. Another thing that you can also do say there isn't a CPARS or Peepers that was given to you based on your contract, you are allowed to ask for that. You are allowed to ask for a past performance evaluation. Formally or informally, it's typically best to have it formally done in the CPARS, standard operating procedure, mainly just because when you are bidding on work and they're reviewing past performance, that's where they go to look. But it's also good for you just to have it anyways if you do it informally, if they're not open to doing a CPARS. Always ask that first, but if they come back and say they don't want to do that, ask if you can do an informal one and kind of have a standardized piece of paper, a survey or something, and have them fill that out as if it was a CPARS so that you are continuously tracking your past performance. It not only helps with your repository of content in your repository for your past performance submissions, but it also helps when you're going after work, when you are going to meet with a client based on, performance or looking to grow the portfolio. You can go to them with actual, kudos or comments or even constructive criticism, which is always helpful on how you can be supporting that client better. So CPARS and Peepers and PPEs may not seem like a BD function. It may seem like an administrative or contract function, but it absolutely is a business development tool in which your business developers, your capture, your program people should be involved in one, reviewing those CPARs when they are posted and providing context to those, or helping to solicit to get feedback or surveys back at the end or intermittently throughout the performance. Okay. Lisa, anything to add on that one?
Yeah, we can move to the next slide too, because you covered the PPEs that's down there.
Sorry.
Yeah, so skipped ahead. Got a little ahead of yourself. We did split them out. But no, absolutely, it's so important. And I mean, we talk about business development and being in capture and BD analysts and everything, but when it comes down to your proposal efforts too, this is so crucial. I mean, how many among us have gone into a solicitation, gone through the bid, no bid, said, hey, this is something we're going after, and then saw a CPARS requirement and turned to someone and said, hey, do you know where this is, what it is, what the rating is, and have people in BD and capture go, good question. So stay ahead of it, stay ahead of the game. All right, next slide. SAM.gov profile. Oh, don't we love SAM.gov? What a wonderful, clunky tool that we all have to use as government contractors. So the pulse of GovCon, although we don't do business with the government, we are still technically a government contractor, and so we also have to manage this tool. And it is, unfortunately, the most efficient way to get on the government search list. So something that we're going to ask you to do is, using your non-BD person to do BD functions, is to go through your SAM.gov profile and make sure it is the most up-to-date, the most current version of it that you could possibly have. The reason that we say this is because procurement officers, contract specialists, they utilize SAM to identify small businesses for prime and subcontracting opportunities. They're going to look for potential vendors based on that information in their, search repository. So it needs to be up to date, otherwise you're going to be missed. So there's a couple of very tangible things that we want you to do with your profile. The first of which is make sure it isn't hidden. Amber, have you seen that happen before, people having hidden profiles?
People don't realize that they actually have to select not to hide their profile on SAM. So it actually is for some reason, it actually is an already selected function in at least the new SAM where it has it hidden. So like you actually have to select and say, I don't want my profile to be hidden from the government. And that's something that we found out. So you need to make sure that you have unchecked that box.
So Amber, that was a trick question because you wouldn't know if it was hidden because you wouldn't see it. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, that's absolutely something that you have to make sure. You also have to be diligent when you're registering and when you're updating it. And make sure that you have the appropriate NAICS and PSD codes to your business. And now Amber and I could get on so many different soapboxes about PSD codes and NAICS codes and what they mean, but we do know that every product and service is classified by these numbers, and you miss out on finding the right ones you can prevent yourself from receiving bid solicitations. So unfortunately, this is the system that we work in. So that's why you have to be really exhaustive with listing these codes, especially in your SAM.gov profile. Amber, anything to add?
Yeah, I want to add I want to overemphasize the importance of including every single NAGS code and PSC code that you support. You know, we see a lot of SAM.gov profiles that have just the company listing some of their NAGs, which I think is a typical thing that people go through. But we skip the PSC codes. And it is of utmost importance that you do not skip the PSC codes, because that is actually how the government identifies what they are buying. NAGS codes help them identify the size standard, but when it comes to the federal government side and their way of doing work, PSC codes matter more to them than NAGS codes. That is how they dictate what they're buying. And this is the difference between how the industry works and how the federal government is working, where NAGS codes are very important to this industry, but PSC codes are more important to the federal government. So you need to make sure you have both of your bases covered. Also on SAM.gov profile.
Sorry, I was going to say, where do they find their PSC codes? Let's help them out.
So there's a lot of different places to go. Frankly, I would recommend Googling, PSC, federal PSC codes, and it will tell you exactly what they are, because there has been so many updates on the regulations of what the PSC codes are identified. GSA is in the middle, and OMB and OFPB have added some new ones, have gotten rid of a few ones. So you just want to go to the main federal registers of PSC codes and taking that, and seriously just choose, like it's like NAGS codes, where it will list off, kind of high level what it's supporting. And there is really no rhyme or reason. PSC codes do not need to match up to NAGS codes and vice versa. So don't worry about those two being identical. If you perform or you provide what that PSC code covers, put it on there, because that's where they're going to be looking for you. And as I was saying before, in addition to the PSC and NAGS code, there's a place for you to provide descriptions of your services, for you to really write out. Do that. I know a lot of people skip it. I know in the past I have skipped it before working at various other organizations, mainly because I was like, they can go to our website. Why would they look at that? That's how we think on this side of industry, right? Because that's what we're used to doing as business owners, as business operators, as non-BD people. That's how we think. The federal government really uses SAM as a crucial tool to be like their Google, right, wrong, or indifferent. That's how they use it. So make sure that you are answering every piece of mail that's asking about your company. Make sure you're actually writing out descriptions. You don't need to include in those descriptions, we're an SCVOSB that was founded in this, because they have that information on your SAM profile. Really write about what you do and like the services you provide, the sub-services under that, because whatever is covered there and is not covered by your NAGS code, you at least are guaranteed that all of those words will get picked up in a keyword search. So making sure that you complete those to the best of your ability, to the full, making sure your project people look at that you're using the right language, the right jargon, that you're covering the right angles, making sure and always vetting that. It's crucial to keep your SAM profile up to date, which sounds ridiculous. I know there's a million other things to be doing. But it really is important, because that tool, right, wrong, or indifferent, that is what is used to filter out and searching for government contractors on the federal government side.
Right, absolutely. Another thing to note about PSC codes is to look at your past performance and look up yourself in FPDS if you haven't already, and just note which codes have been listed under the work that you already have. I know some people are surprised to know that contracts that they have specific PSC codes, so you can also go in there as a note.
All right. If you need help searching for that, let us know.
Next slide. There we go.
So this, the next one is one that I have always kind of used in proposals, in any type of federal work that we do every day, right? and that your non-BD people can do, and that your HR and your recruiters can really get involved in. And I'm sure this is a practice that a lot of us implement now, but it's always good to have a reminder about job postings in this area. Encourage your recruiters and your human resource professionals to observe federal agencies and or other government contractor job portals for old job openings. We're talking about like 30 days or more, right? Setting Google alerts for USA jobs, for LinkedIn, which is heavily used not only by industry, but by the federal government now. And FBO for PSC, which is the Personnel Service Contractor postings. You may see those through CMMC, USAID does some of those sometimes, for federal agency openings and searches. And the reason that we're telling you to do this is because if you see those, and if you have that person either on your bench available, or it's what you do, those are the positions that you fill, you have a bench or a pipeline of these people, contact the government contractor if you have the right person and offer to set up a mutually beneficial agreement with them to fill that position. They may be really struggling. That may be an opportunity for you to get in and to be a subcontractor. And for those that are kind of, a micro business where it's maybe one or two of you, right, where you're trying to get exposure and get past performance, if you fit the criteria for one of those positions, call them and say, hey, I am a small business. I'm looking to get past performance. I can fill and help in this position. And that will probably go forward, because the only thing worse than having, a non-filled position for, a week or two is having a non-filled position for 30 or more days. And so that is kind of why you can come in and you can kind of be the hero and also get in as a subcontractor. On the federal government side, this is a little bit more of a relationship play. It kind of depends on how well the people are the opening. And this is where your people on the ground, your eyes and ears on the program can kind of come in and help you out, where if you see a federal government position that's been open for 30 or more days, and it looks like a critical position, it's something that you guys can fill, especially if you're a socioeconomic concern. You can go in, you can contact them and say, we have this person available, we have resumes for this, would love to show you those resumes and talk to you about how maybe we could set up a contract to help you fill that position. I have done that before. I have seen it done successfully before and turn into sole sources, because it is a personnel position, and depending, especially now that we are in Q4, a lot of that money needs to be spent, and especially on one or two of these, FTE contracts, that actually is a great way to get your recruiters and your HR professionals more involved in growing your business, getting your people onto job sites, and also helping grow your subcontractor past performance, or even your prime if you go through and help out a federal government agency fill a position. On the other side of that, right, is you can observe your competitors to see who is buying from them right now. It is a source that, again, I think people implement this a lot, but it is something that your recruiters can keep track of, your human resources professionals can keep track of, and report back to your BD capture folks, or even you if you are a micro business, and say, hey, here's who's playing in this space. Here's who's looking for these openings. Let's track that down. So you can kind of use it for good. You can use it for a little evil if you want to, but it's all competitive intelligence in different sources that aren't, that don't come to top of mind as BD resources.
Right. It's so funny. I wouldn't call it evil to get a competitive, intel on the landscape, but yeah, you're right. There's some things that are more internal and there's some focuses that are more external. And this is a really interesting point that you've made, especially when it comes to 30 days or more. I think about it like a house and like a home's value. And if it sits in the market for too long, people are going to want to unload it. And the same goes for a job opening that's out there. And absolutely what you were talking about with micro businesses, if you're a business of one or two people, you as those people and as the owners are your primary service offering, right? Normally, you are the business yourself. And so to be able to sell yourself as an FTE on one of these contracts to get that kind of past performance, it's just such a good way to get your foot in the door. And also when it comes to the competitors and the competitive landscape, same deal there. You'd be surprised what people will put out there. If you have a proposal and you're trying to see who else is going to be bidding on it, look for those types of labor categories in, the area that you're in or the area that the place performance is going to be. You'll find out a lot. All right, next slide. All right, so our last one is going to be GSA Interact and Small Business Repositories. And Amber, I'm going to pump this over to you because this is your soapbox that you want to live and die on.
So there are a lot of resources out there, and we know the government has a ton of different avenues on how to communicate to you, how to let you know what's happening, and interact. And there are platforms that we think about, right? Social media platforms. There's Twitter. There's LinkedIn. They communicate to us through FBO. We just talked to you about SAM.gov and Peepers, but there's other tools that are out there that kind of are things that you can task out your project people to support with. Maybe your intern, as you're getting people kind of geared up and supporting your business. There are a few other resources out there that I feel like fly under the radar that can help you just get in front of the government, that can help give you another avenue to interact, that can give you another place to talk to them outside of LinkedIn or emailing or phone calls, and still help keep you up to date. And it's pretty easy to kind of keep up with. The first one is GSA Interact. If you've never heard of it, I would recommend Googling it, setting up a profile, get on GSA Interact. What GSA is using that as is a communication tool. It's like if you're familiar with Reddit, it's kind of like that. It's like their own posting, their own blog sites. They have different avenues and different interact groups you can be a part of, like GSA IT 70, GSA PSS. They have a separate one for like IT modernization. And sometimes they make separate interact pages just for an opportunity. So this is really the way that they are starting to communicate. And I will tell you, the alerts for GSA Interact are a lot faster than the ones that come from FBO. So if you're also going after an opportunity, it sometimes will do you well to follow that as well and to join that group, because sometimes you get those updates a lot faster. But something that Interact allows you to also do is to join, create a profile, and then actually interact with not only GSA professionals, but with people that are in that group. There are chat rooms, there are places to comment, there are places to ask questions. And believe it or not, contracting officers actually get back to them a lot faster. Now, is it like
right?
Full
Hey, Amber.
Information? Yes.
So I was going to say, just to be mindful, we only have 2 minutes left.
Okay, we'll go really fast. Okay, GSA Interact's great. Everyone should be a part of that. The SBA Dynamic Small Business Search is also great to create a profile in. It's what the federal government uses during market research. Subnet is also really great to create a profile in. The SSA Vendor Repository is a database used for COTR market research out of SSA. And then DHA's Vendor Outreach Session Schedule System. In order to get a meeting with DHS, you have to be in the system in order to register, and it's a good way for them to find you. And I think we have other resources right on the next slide as well.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, can we go back to the last one? The one before this one? There we go. So, and we listed a few more as well. I believe there's links in the slide, but if you go on, these are all tools that individual federal agencies use in addition to SAM.net. So this is their own internal database of small businesses. So if you have not registered or made a profile in these, and these are your customers, we recommend doing so.
All right, and that concludes this presentation. Thank you guys all so much.
Thank you guys for sharing your knowledge and insight today. Today's presentation has been recorded and can be found on our website or YouTube channel within about 48 hours. If you have questions about today's topic, please contact either Amber or Lisa at the email shown on your screen. Thank you, everybody. This concludes the webinar.